Welcome to the Friday Night Campfire Stories. My name is Rob, and I will be your host for this evening. If you're new here, this is my series I do every single Friday where I share one chapter from one of my original stories with you guys. Currently, we are halfway through my story Perspective. If you have not checked out chapters 1 and 2, definitely do that before getting into chapter 3 because you'll be in for quite a shock and really won't know what's going on. So definitely go back and check out chapters 1 and 2 and then come back here. But if you're already caught up, then you know it's been a thrilling ride and we are halfway through, but I promise you we're just getting started. Really quick before we get started, we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers and I'm trying to get there by the end of August. We're getting closer, but definitely I'm going to need your help to get there. So if you could, just take 1 second, go down and hit that subscribe button. It would mean the world to me. Also, my book, The Hollow Season, is coming out on August 1st. It will include 6 chilling tales perfect for the upcoming spooky season. I think that you'll really enjoy it. You can pre-order the book down in the link below. But I don't want to waste any more of your time. I know why you guys are here, so let's get into it. This is Chapter 3 of Perspective.
Perspective, Chapter 3. The early years of Aurora's life were nothing short of magical, at least in Brad's eyes. Every moment with his daughter and Sophia felt like a dream come true. A family he had always envisioned, full of love and harmony. Aurora was a happy baby, her laughter filling their home with warmth. She adored being in her father's arms, giggling as he spun her around the living room. Sophia would sit on the couch, watching them with a soft smile, her eyes glowing with what Brad assumed was contentment. Brad took pride in creating a picture-perfect life for his family. He spent hours building Aurora's nursery, painting the walls a gentle pastel pink and filling it with plush toys and handmade wooden furniture. His 6-figure job allowed him to provide everything they could ever want, and he loved watching Sophia and Aurora enjoy the life he worked so hard to maintain. Daddy's little princess, Brad often called Aurora, kissing her on the forehead as she babbled nonsense that made his heart swell. One night when Aurora was about a year old, the family faced their first real scare. Brad woke to the sound of faint whimpers coming from the baby monitor. He rushed to her crib to find her burning with fever, her tiny body shivering under her blanket. "Brad," Sophia said, her voice laced with panic as she joined him. "She's burning up. We need to take her to the doctor." Without hesitation, Brad bundled Aurora in a blanket and drove them to the nearest urgent care center. He held her close as the doctors examined her, his heart breaking at her pain cries. "It's just a viral infection," the doctor assured them, scribbling down a prescription. "She'll be fine with some rest and medication." Back at home, Brad and Sophia took turns caring for Aurora through the night. Brad held her in the rocking chair, singing softly as she finally drifted off to sleep. The next morning her fever broke, and she flashed a smile that lit up the room. "She's a tough one," Brad said, beaming as he kissed Sophia on the cheek. "Just like her mom." Sophia smiled faintly, brushing Aurora's soft curls. "I'm just glad she's okay." Life quickly returned to normal, and Brad cherished every milestone in Aurora's early years. Her first steps had been a triumphant moment, with him and Sophia cheering her on as she wobbled across the living room. Her first words, "Dada," naturally, had sent Brad over the moon. He often found himself marveling at how perfect their life was. In the evenings, they'd all sit together on the couch, Aurora snuggled between them as Brad read her bedtime stories. Sophia would stroke Aurora's hair, her expression soft and serene. "Our little family," Brad would say, his heart full. "I couldn't ask for anything more." Every moment felt like a fairy tale, and Brad was determined to make sure it stayed that way. His family was his everything, and he'd do whatever it took to keep their happiness intact. The thought of expanding their family had always been a dream for Brad and Sophia. Aurora had brought so much joy into their lives that the idea of giving her a sibling felt like the natural next step. One quiet evening, as they tucked Aurora into bed, Brad turned to Sophia with a smile. "What do you think?" he asked softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Should we give Aurora a little brother or sister?" Sophia chuckled, leaning into him. "I thought you'd never ask," she teased. "I'd love that." The excitement of planning for another child brought new energy into their lives. They spent hours imagining the future. A bustling home filled with laughter, Aurora holding her baby sibling for the first time, and the family growing even closer. A few years later, their wish became a reality when Sophia announced she was pregnant again. Brad had lifted her off her feet, spinning her around the kitchen in delight. Aurora, now a bubbly 5-year-old, squealed with excitement at the idea of becoming a big sister. "I'll help take care of the baby," she promised, her eyes wide with determination. Those months were filled with anticipation and joy. Brad painted the nursery again, this time opting for a neutral soft yellow, and they spent weekends shopping for baby clothes and toys. Everything seemed perfect, but then cracks began to form in their seemingly idyllic life. One evening, Brad came home from work with a heavy look on his face. Sophia, who was sitting on the couch folding baby clothes, immediately noticed his tension. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice full of concern. Brad hesitated, running a hand through his hair before sinking into the armchair across from her. "I lost my job today," he said quietly, his voice strained. Sophia froze, her hands stilling on the tiny onesie she was folding. "What? How?" "The company's downsizing," Brad explained, his tone laced with frustration. "They said it's nothing personal, just business. But that doesn't change the fact that I'm out of work." Sophia placed the clothes aside and moved to sit beside him. "We'll figure it out," she said, her voice steady despite the growing anxiety in her chest. "I don't know how we're going to manage," Brad admitted, his hands shaking. "The mortgage, the bills, the new baby. I've always taken care of everything, and now I don't know how to." Sophia reached for his hand, squeezing it tightly. "You've always been the rock of this family, Brad. We'll get through this together. I can go back to work if we need the extra income." "No," Brad said quickly, shaking his head. "You're pregnant, Sophia. You need to focus on the baby, on staying healthy. This is my responsibility. I'll figure something out." But as the weeks went on, the stress began to weigh heavily on him. Brad spent his days searching for work and his nights lying awake, staring at the ceiling as worry gnawed at him. The once light-hearted atmosphere in their home grew tense, and even Aurora began to notice her parents' strained expressions. Sophia tried her best to support him, but the strain of Brad's unemployment, combined with the physical toll of her pregnancy, began to take its toll. Little by little, the cracks widened, threatening to shatter the perfect life they had built. As the months dragged on, Brad's failure to find work began to consume him. The vibrant, attentive husband and father he once was started to fade, replaced by someone Sophia barely recognized. His frustration turned inward at first. Silent nights spent brooding at the kitchen table, his jaw clenched as he stared at the stacks of bills. But soon the anger spilled over. "Did you call the power company today?" Sophia asked one afternoon, cradling her growing belly. "I've been busy," Brad snapped, not looking up from his laptop. Sophia sighed softly. "Brad, it's important. They said they'd—" "I said I'll handle it," he barked, slamming the laptop shut. His sudden outburst made Sophia flinch, her hands instinctively wrapping protectively around her stomach. Aurora, who had been quietly coloring at the dining table, looked up with wide, fearful eyes. "Daddy?" she asked softly. "What?" Brad barked, glaring at her. The little girl shrank in her seat, her lower lip trembling. "No, nothing," she whispered, her crayon slipping from her fingers. Sophia shot Brad a warning look, her maternal instincts flaring. "Don't talk to her like that," she said firmly. Brad scoffed, standing up abruptly. "Don't tell me how to talk to my own daughter," he muttered, grabbing his coat. "I'm going out." "Where are you going?" Sophia demanded, her voice tinged with desperation. "Anywhere but here," Brad growled before slamming the door behind him. As the weeks passed, his temper only grew worse. He became increasingly withdrawn, spending hours locked away in his office or storming out of the house for hours at a time. When he did interact with his family, his words were sharp and venomous. One evening, as Sophia tried to discuss their dwindling savings, Brad exploded. "What do you want me to do, Sophia?" he shouted, his voice echoing through the house. "I'm trying. Do you think I like being a failure? Do you think I like being stuck in this situation?" "I never said that," Sophia shot back, tears brimming in her eyes. "I'm just trying to help." "Well, maybe if you hadn't gotten pregnant again, we wouldn't be in this mess," he spat, his words cutting deep. Sophia gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "How dare you?" she whispered, her voice shaking. Aurora, who had been listening from the top of the stairs, started crying, her small sobs breaking through the tense silence. "Great," Brad muttered, rolling his eyes. "Now I've got two people crying at me. Fantastic." "Stop it, Brad," Sophia shouted, her voice filled with a mix of anger and heartbreak. "This isn't who you are," Brad sneered, his eyes cold and unfeeling. "Maybe you don't know who I really am," he said before turning and walking away. Sophia stood there trembling as Aurora ran into her arms, clinging to her mother tightly. "I'm scared, Mommy," Aurora whispered. Sophia held her daughter close, tears streaming down her face as she whispered back, "Me too, baby. Me too." Brad's bitterness had infected every corner of their home, turning what was once a place of love and joy into a battleground of fear and resentment. And as the months continued to pass, Sophia couldn't shake the growing sense of dread that things were only going to get worse. The tension in the house had reached its breaking point. Sophia could feel it building every time Brad walked into the room, his presence heavy with anger and frustration. Aurora had started retreating to her room more often, sensing the tension between her parents but too young to understand it fully. One night, as the rain poured outside, the storm inside their home finally erupted. Sophia was in the kitchen, washing dishes, when Brad came in, his face already twisted in irritation. "You didn't pay the credit card bill again, did you?" he barked, tossing the unopened envelope onto the counter. "I told you I'd take care of it tomorrow," Sophia said, her voice weary. "I've been dealing with everything else, Brad. I can't do it all at once." "You can't do it all at once?" he repeated mockingly. "What exactly are you doing, Sophia? Sitting at home playing house? Meanwhile, I'm the one trying to figure out how to fix this mess." Sophia turned off the water and faced him, her hands shaking. "You're the one who's turned this family into a mess, Brad. You lash out at everyone. You're angry all the time, and you're scaring our daughter." Brad's face darkened, his fists clenching at his sides. "Don't bring her into this," he growled. "She's already in it," Sophia shot back, tears streaming down her face. "She's your daughter, Brad. Do you even realize what you're doing to her? To me?" "I've done nothing but try to hold this family together," Brad roared, stepping closer to her. "And all you do is criticize me." "I want a divorce," Sophia said suddenly, her voice trembling but resolute. Brad froze, his eyes narrowing. "What did you just say?" "I said I want a divorce," she repeated, standing her ground, even as her legs felt like they might give out beneath her. "This isn't working, Brad. You're not the man I married. You're not the father Aurora deserves. I can't do this anymore." Brad's face turned a deep shade of red, his chest heaving with rage. In an instant, he raised his hand as if to strike her, the movement quick and violent. Sophia flinched, her eyes wide with terror, but Brad stopped just before his hand connected, his fingers trembling in the air. For a moment, they both stood frozen, the silence between them deafening. Sophia's voice broke the stillness, barely above a whisper. "You're not the person I used to know," she said, her voice filled with pain and disbelief. Brad lowered his hand slowly, his face a mix of shame and fury. But as her words sank in, his shame gave way to anger once more, his expression hardening. "You want a divorce?" he said, his voice low and menacing. "You're not going anywhere, Sophia. Not now. Not ever." His words sent a chill down her spine, and she took a cautious step back, her heart pounding in her chest. Brad's gaze burned with rage as he stormed out of the kitchen, slamming the door behind him so hard the wall shook. Sophia stood there, her entire body trembling, as the storm outside raged on, mirroring the chaos within her home. For the first time, she realized she might not be able to escape this nightmare alive. Perspective Chapter 3, Sophia's Version. Sophia sat on the cold, damp floor of the basement, her arms wrapped protectively around Aurora as the baby nursed. The dim light bulb overhead flickered faintly, casting long shadows across the cramped, musty room. The walls were damp with mildew, and the air was thick and heavy with the scent of mold, a constant assault on her senses. Aurora's small body shifted against her, and Sophia couldn't help but smile at her daughter's soft coos. Despite everything, Aurora was her light in the darkness, the reason she hadn't given up. But something wasn't right. Over the past week, Aurora had grown more irritable. Her cries were sharper, and her small chest rattled with each breath. Sophia's heart clenched with worry as she stroked her baby's fine hair, trying to soothe her. "Please don't get sick," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I can't lose you too." That night, as Brad brought down her meal, a bowl of canned soup and a slice of bread, Sophia confronted him. "She's sick, Brad," Sophia said, her voice laced with desperation. "She needs a doctor." Brad set the tray down on the floor, his expression tightening. "She's fine. Babies cry, Sophia. That's what they do." "She's wheezing, Brad. She's not fine," Sophia snapped, her anger boiling over. "If you care about her at all, you'll take her to a doctor." Brad's jaw twitched, but after a moment he sighed. "Fine," he said curtly. "I'll take her tomorrow, but you're staying here." Sophia's heart sank, but she knew she didn't have the strength to argue further. At least Aurora would get help. The next morning, Brad kept his word and took Aurora to the doctor. When he returned hours later, he came down the stairs holding Aurora, his face unreadable. "Well," Sophia demanded, rising to her feet as far as her chains would allow. Brad shifted Aurora in his arms, his tone calm but cold. "The doctor said she's showing signs of respiratory issues. They think it might be caused by mold or asbestos exposure." Sophia's stomach twisted in fear and guilt. "Mold? Asbestos? Brad, you have to get us out of here." Brad smirked, his expression chilling. "Oh, I already told them I'm handling it. I explained that things have been difficult since Aurora's mother passed away." Sophia froze, her blood running cold. "What did you say?" Brad shrugged. "I told them you died, Sophia. It's easier this way. They don't need to ask questions about you, and Aurora doesn't need to grow up hearing some crazy story about her mother in the basement." Sophia's chest heaved as panic consumed her. "You're lying to everyone about me? You're taking my baby away from me?" "She's better off this way," Brad said, his voice devoid of emotion. "She can't stay down here. She might get very ill. She doesn't need to know you. You're just going to confuse her. She'll grow up thinking her mother loved her enough to die for her." Sophia lunged toward him, the chains biting into her wrists. "You can't do this! She's my daughter! You're a monster, Brad!" He stepped back, his expression unbothered as Aurora whimpered in his arms. "Careful, Sophia. You wouldn't want Aurora to see her mother acting like a lunatic, would you?" Tears streamed down Sophia's face as Brad turned and started up the stairs, Aurora clutching his shirt. "Brad, please!" Sophia screamed after him, her voice breaking. "Don't do this! Don't take her away from me!" The door slammed shut and Sophia collapsed to the floor, her sobs racking her body. Her worst fear had come true. Brad was not only keeping her locked away, but erasing her existence entirely. As the faint sound of Aurora's cries faded above her, Sophia clenched her fists, her sorrow hardening into resolve. Brad might think he had won, but she wasn't giving up. She would find a way to escape, to get her daughter back, no matter what it took. Sophia sat in the corner of the damp basement, her hand resting lightly on her swollen belly. Her thoughts churned, a mixture of anger, despair, and bitter resolve. The chains around her ankles were loose enough to let her shuffle to the bucket in the corner, but she hadn't left the general spot she now considered home in years. Time blurred in the darkness, but she guessed it had been 5 years since Aurora was born. Aurora, her sweet, innocent daughter. Sophia's chest ached every time she thought of her, which was every second of every day. She wondered how Aurora looked now, how her little voice sounded when she laughed. The door at the top of the stairs creaked, breaking Sophia's train of thought. She tensed as Brad's heavy footsteps echoed down the stairs. He hadn't come down in weeks. The door swung open and Brad stepped in, his face a mask of exhaustion and irritation. He carried a small tray, her meal no doubt, though it looked even sparser than usual. "Look who finally remembered I'm down here," Sophia said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Brad ignored her, setting the tray on the ground. A slice of bread, half a banana, and a cup of water. Sophia's stomach growled, but her anger overpowered her hunger. "She's asking about you," Brad said abruptly, leaning against the wall. Sophia's heart raced. "Aurora, what is she saying?" Brad rubbed his temples. "She keeps asking about her mom. I told her you died, but kids don't stop with their questions. How did she die? What was she like? Blah, blah, blah." Sophia felt a tear slip down her cheek. Her daughter was out there, yearning for a mother, and she was locked in this prison. "Let me see her, Brad, please. She deserves to know the truth." Brad's expression hardened. "The truth? The truth is I'm the one raising her. I'm the one keeping a roof over her head and food on her plate." He gestured to the meager tray on the floor. "You should be grateful you even have this." Sophia's hands balled into fists. "Grateful? You've stolen my life, my daughter, and now you're starving me?" Brad's face darkened, his jaw tightening. "You have no idea what I'm dealing with." "Oh, enlighten me, Brad. What's so difficult in your perfect little world?" Brad snorted bitterly. "The trust fund is running dry. All those years of coasting on my parents' money, and now I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel. Do you know what that feels like?" Sophia laughed hollowly. "You're asking me if I know what it feels like to struggle? I'm chained to a wall, Brad. I eat scraps. I don't even know what my daughter looks like." Brad's hand twitched, and for a moment Sophia thought he might strike her. Instead, he kicked the tray toward her. "Enjoy your dinner." He turned to leave, but Sophia couldn't hold back. "What happens when the money's gone, Brad? What will you do then?" Brad paused at the door, his shoulders stiff. "I'll figure it out," he muttered before slamming it shut. Sophia stared at the door, her heart heavy. She knew what Brad's figuring it out would mean. More anger, more desperation, and likely more cruelty. Her hands went to her belly instinctively. She didn't want to bring another child into this nightmare, but the choice had been ripped from her. The baby kicked, a faint flutter against her palm. Sophia closed her eyes, trying to suppress the wave of despair threatening to drown her. She had to survive for Aurora, for this baby. The door slammed open with a force that made Sophia flinch. Brad stormed in, his face twisted with rage. His once charismatic demeanor had rotted away, replaced by the raw, unfiltered bitterness of a man crumbling under his own failures. "Do you have any idea what you've done to me?" he bellowed, his voice bouncing off the basement walls. Sophia, sitting on the cold floor with her back pressed against the damp wall, refused to cower. She glared at him, her jaw clenched. "What I've done to you? Are you serious? You've imprisoned me, stolen my daughter, and now you're blaming me for your pathetic failures?" Brad's face turned red, veins bulging in his neck. "I gave you everything. A roof over your head, food in your mouth, a family. If you'd been the supportive wife I thought you were supposed to be, none of this would be happening." Sophia shot to her feet, fueled by a sudden surge of adrenaline and fury. "Supportive wife? I never agreed to this. I never asked for this life. I was being nice, Brad. That's it. I went to dinner with some annoying guy from high school because I thought, why not? And look where that got me, chained in a mold-infested basement with my daughter stolen from me." Brad's hand trembled, and for a moment, Sophia thought he might strike her. His fingers twitched at his side before curling into a fist, but he didn't raise it. Instead, he took a step back, his lip curling in disdain. "You ungrateful," he muttered under his breath. "I've sacrificed everything for you." Sophia laughed bitterly, her voice sharp and cutting. "Sacrificed? You don't even know the meaning of the word, Brad. You've done nothing but take my freedom, take my daughter, take my life. You're nothing but a coward who hides behind lies and chains because you can't face the fact that you're a failure. If this is marriage to you, Brad, I want a divorce." Brad's face contorted with a mix of anger and pain. For a moment, he seemed like he might say something, but instead he turned on his heel and stomped up the stairs. The door slammed shut, the lock clicking into place. Sophia sank to the floor, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Her hands trembled and she pressed them against her swollen belly, trying to calm the storm raging inside her. She had pushed him, maybe too far this time. She stared at the ceiling, tears welling in her eyes. "I don't think I'm getting out of here alive," she whispered to herself, the words heavy with despair. But then, as if in response to her thought, the door creaked open again. Sophia tensed, expecting Brad to come barreling back in for round two. Instead, she saw something, or rather, someone, that made her breath hitch. A sliver of light poured in from the hallway above, illuminating a silhouette. Sophia's heart raced as a faint voice called down. "Hello? Is someone there?" Hope surged in Sophia's chest for the first time in years. "Yes," she screamed, her voice cracking. "I'm here."
So that is going to do it for today. We are 3 chapters down, 1 remains. Make sure that you come back next week for the finale of my story, Perspective. It is going to be a thrilling end to what has been an amazing story. You definitely will not want to miss that. As I stated earlier, we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so if you could go down, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button while you're down there, then we will get even closer to growing this community to over 1,000 subscribers. Also, don't forget to pre-order my new book, The Hollow Season, coming out on August 1st. And other than that, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope that you guys did enjoy. If you did, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys next week. As always, thank you for spending a little bit of your evening here with me.